You fasted, you prayed, you even cried. But nothing changed. And now, you wonder if heaven heard it all. I've seen that ache in so many souls. I felt it in my own bones. The kind of ache that doesn't scream, it just waits. Waits in silence. Waits while everyone else seems to be moving forward. Waits while the heavens feel mute. You don't say it out loud, but somewhere deep inside, you've asked, "Why haven't you answered me, Lord? Why hasn't the breakthrough come?" And here is what I need to whisper into the hollow of that silence. What if your breakthrough didn't come because you weren't meant to break through yet? What if the door you've been pounding on isn't locked, but guarded by timing? What if heaven has not denied you, but is delaying you to protect what you don't yet see? I have lived long enough to know this. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing is not when God says no, but when He says nothing. Because silence feels like abandonment, but silence is not the absence of God. It is the fullness of heaven waiting for the version of you who can carry the weight of what's coming. And maybe, just maybe, that version isn't born yet. If you're listening to me now, and those words feel like they came from your own soul, write this one phrase where others can see it: still waiting. Still, not because you've lost faith, but because your waiting is holy, because your waiting is heard, because your waiting is doing more in the unseen than you know. And maybe your waiting is the proof you haven't walked away. You are still here, and that is not weakness, that is obedience. You see, I've watched many come to me and say, "Father, I've done everything. I've prayed every prayer I know. I've fasted. I've tithed. I've repented. I've forgiven. I've broken generational curses. I've spoken in tongues. And still, nothing. Nothing moves. The pain stays, the opportunity slips, the healing delays, the silence continues." And I would look at them not with answers, but with mercy, because I've heard that cry from deep inside the soul, and I know the temptation it carries, the temptation to believe that the silence means rejection. But here is the truth heaven revealed to me in my darkest nights. God's delays are never empty. They are loaded with purpose. They are sacred chambers where heaven rewrites you. Not your outcome, you. There are some prayers God will not answer when you want Him to. Not because He cannot, but because if He did, the answer would crush you. You prayed for the crown, but you haven't walked through the cave. You asked for marriage, but your heart still fears true intimacy. You asked for money, but your identity is still chained to lack. You asked for healing, but you've secretly learned to love the attention brokenness gives you. God won't bless what will bind you further, so He waits, and He breaks you, not to destroy you, but to separate you from what cannot enter your next season. Do not mistake heaven's silence for absence. It is refinement. It is fire. It is love. It is the whisper between the hammer and the chisel, and the sculpture being shaped is you. Let me say something now that may not sound gentle, but it is true. Some of you are praying for breakthroughs you haven't become ready to carry. You want a new level, but you still respond to pain like the old version of yourself. You want resurrection, but you haven't let the old version die, and heaven will not resurrect what refuses to surrender. I know this because I, too, have waited. I waited when my body was in torment and no relief came. I waited when I laid hands on others and they were healed. While my own affliction stayed, I waited in nights so dark I felt the weight of every soul I carried. And even then I was told by heaven, "Not yet," because what heaven is doing in you is always more important than what you want done around you. And now, I want to speak directly to the one who is tired of waiting, to the one who is barely hanging on. I need you to breathe, not because I tell you, but because heaven is not done with you. Do not confuse delay with denial. That's where the enemy comes in. He whispers, "God forgot you. God blessed others. You must have done something wrong." And if you listen too long, you'll start building theology around a trauma that heaven never intended to last. But I need you to hear me. Hear me not as a priest, not as a mystic, but as a fellow sufferer. The delay is not a punishment. It is a pause to prepare what cannot be rushed. God is not slow, He is precise. And precision always feels painful to those who are desperate for immediacy. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Before you sleep, take your rosary. Don't just hold it. Place it under your pillow, let it rest where your head rests, and whisper this before you close your eyes. God, don't just give me a breakthrough, make me into the person who can carry it. And then surrender. Not the prayer, the timeline. Let go of the calendar. Let go of the expectation. Let go of what you thought it would look like, because heaven's breakthroughs rarely come in the packaging you imagined. If this is reaching something deep in your spirit, send this to someone you love. Someone who's still waiting. Someone who needs to hear that waiting is not a void, it's a vow. And those who keep waiting have not lost faith. They've been chosen for timing. Don't keep this truth to yourself. Because maybe, just maybe, someone else's breakthrough begins the moment they realize they're not waiting alone. I need to show you something, not a vision, not a dream, but a memory, etched not in ink, but in spirit. It was a night like any other, quiet, cold, heavy with prayers unsaid, and a woman came to me, trembling, eyes hollow from waiting. Father, she said, I have done everything. I have lit candles, I've slept with the rosary under my pillow, I've cried in the silence of my kitchen, and still nothing. No healing, no breakthrough, no answer. She looked at me as if I held a key. I didn't, but heaven did. So I said the only thing the Spirit gave me. Then perhaps you're not waiting for the answer. Perhaps heaven is waiting for the question to change. She didn't understand. Most don't at first, because we think breakthroughs come when our circumstances shift. But often, they come when our questions deepen. When we stop asking, how long must I wait? And start asking, what is heaven forming in me while I wait? That night I watched her cry, not from despair but from release. She whispered something I'll never forget. She said, then let the silence continue until it becomes sacred. And I knew. In that moment, the breakthrough began. Not outside her, but within. You see, most souls are trained to knock. Few are trained to kneel while the door stays closed. And fewer still are trained to bless the hallway. But that's where I've seen the most miracles. Not in the sudden explosion of answered prayer, but in the slow, painful, divine reformation of the soul while waiting. You want to know why your breakthrough hasn't come yet? Then hear this. Not as a rebuke, but as a revelation. Heaven delays what you cannot yet contain. It's not your desire that's wrong, it's that the container of your character is still leaking. And heaven, in mercy, refuses to pour glory into what hasn't been sealed. There was a man once, he wept in my confessional. Father, I've prayed for years for my business to grow, he said, and every time it looks like a door opens it slams shut again. And I asked him a question that startled even me. Do you love the business more than you love silence? He blinked. What do you mean? I said, God cannot bless what you use to avoid intimacy with Him. And that broke him. He hadn't realized that his prayer wasn't for purpose, it was for distraction, and heaven doesn't partner with avoidance. So what is God waiting for? If He is not waiting for your perfection, then what? He is waiting for your agreement, not the kind you say with your mouth, the kind your spirit signs in the dark, the kind that says, even if you don't open this door, you are still good. The kind that says, even if nothing changes, I will still stay here. That kind of surrender is louder than any shouted prayer. It is what heaven listens for. That's the frequency of breakthrough. I need you to understand something sacred now. Heaven is not mechanical. It is relational. Your breakthrough isn't held back by a failed formula. It's held in place by holy timing. There is an orchestra you do not see. Angels aligning, lives intersecting, moments arranging like stars into constellations. You see delay, but heaven sees design. And design can never be rushed, because if God gave it to you now, it would bless the wrong version of you. The bitter one, the hurried one, the wounded one. And what blesses the wounded may empower the wound. So heaven waits for the whole version. The healed one, the rooted one, the surrendered one. And now I ask you, what if the waiting isn't about what you're waiting for, but who you're becoming while you wait? I remember one night kneeling before the crucifix. My body ached, my spirit wept, and the voice of God came, not loud, but unmistakable. You are asking me to come quickly, but I am asking you to stay deeply. That was the moment I understood. Heaven is not interested in how fast you move forward. Heaven is invested in how deeply you are formed, because only those who are formed deeply can carry miracles that last. You don't want a temporary breakthrough. You want a transformation, and transformation always takes longer than transaction. If any part of this has pierced you, share it now. Not for numbers, not for likes, but because someone is praying tonight the same prayer you once prayed. Someone is staring at their ceiling wondering if heaven forgot them. Someone is about to give up because they don't know the delay is holy. And maybe your act of sharing is how heaven reaches them before they let go. There is a mystery I've seen in every soul that waits well. Their waiting becomes their authority. Because when you wait with worship, something opens in the spirit that cannot be stolen. You become dangerous to darkness, because you have been tested by silence and still didn't walk away. Hell fears the worshiper who has waited, because nothing manipulates them anymore. They cannot be bought by blessing or broken by delay. They are anchored. And that is who you are becoming. So tonight, if the room is silent, if the prayers feel dry, if your soul is tired, light one candle, just one, and let that light be your agreement with heaven. Say this as you do. I will not give up. I will not curse the wait. I will not measure myself by what hasn't come. I will remain. I will believe. I will be still and know. Then sleep. Not in fear, but in faith, because the moment you stop fighting for control is the moment heaven begins moving what you couldn't. There are 3 reasons your breakthrough may not have come yet, and none of them are what you think. I'm not talking about sin. I'm not talking about demons. I'm talking about deeper things. Things the enemy hopes you never discover. Because once you do, something shifts, not just around you, but within you. And that's when breakthroughs no longer depend on your strength, but on your surrender. The first block is that you're asking for the promise but not the process. You want the oil without the crushing, the crown without the cross, the open door without the closed seasons that shaped your character. But God never skips process, and heaven will not promote who you pretend to be. The breakthrough you are praying for is real. But what if it's wrapped in pain? What if it's hidden inside the very thing you're avoiding? You say, Lord, deliver me. But He says, let me dig into what you buried. Because if He gave you the blessing before the breaking, the weight of it would crush you. Some of you want miracles, but you're allergic to discomfort, and heaven will not deliver what you idolize comfort to avoid. That's not cruelty, that's mercy. I've seen this again and again. People who pray for anointing but resist obscurity, who want platform but never let God deal with their private wounds, who say, use me, but panic the moment they're hidden, and so they abort the process just before heaven finishes its preparation. But here's what I've learned in fire. If you skip the breaking, you delay the birth. Your next level will not come through convenience. It will come through consecration. So the question is not, when will God move? The question is, are you willing to be moved first? If that pierced you, don't hide. Write, break me, Lord, below. Not to impress anyone, but to invite heaven to finish what it started, because your surrender is louder in the spirit than any shout. The second block is that you've trusted God, but not with everything. You gave Him the request, but you didn't give Him the timeline. You say you've surrendered, but you still glance at the clock every time you pray. Still scan the room to see who got their miracle first. Still whisper amen while holding your breath in case it doesn't work. That's not surrender. That's spiritual performance. You're still praying for answers while holding the pen to your own story. And heaven doesn't co-author control. If you've asked God to move, but still panic when it takes longer than you planned, then it's not surrender. It's spiritual negotiation. Let me say this plainly. God is not late. He is not ignoring you. He is simply unwilling to bless a version of you that still tries to manipulate His will. And I know that sounds harsh, but it is freedom, because once you release your grip on how it should happen, when it should happen, and who should be involved, then finally, heaven can move, because heaven doesn't just answer the faithful, it answers the fully surrendered. I remember one soul who came to me weeping, "Padre, I trusted Him, I really did, but nothing happened." And I asked gently, "Did you trust Him with the outcome, or just with the steps you liked?" She paused, then broke, because she knew, she trusted the part of God that felt safe, but not the part that said wait, not the part that said no, not the part that used silence to purify her dependence. And when she finally said, "God, even if it never happens, I'll still stay here," the very next week the door opened, not because she earned it, but because she finally stopped trying to direct it. That's what surrender does. It doesn't unlock heaven by effort, it invites heaven by posture. And the third block is the one the enemy fears most. It's this: you haven't recognized that the waiting was never about what you didn't have, it was about who you haven't yet become. This one is subtle, because it hides behind all the right prayers. You've said, "Lord, I'm ready. Lord, I believe. Lord, I'm faithful." But deep down, there's still a version of you clinging to survival, not sonship. You still see yourself as the beggar outside the temple, when heaven sees you as the vessel it's about to fill. And as long as you keep praying like a beggar, you'll miss the authority of the beloved. Listen to me, the reason the breakthrough hasn't come may not be delay, it may be disidentity. God cannot give you a promise you don't believe you're worthy of. Not because He withholds, but because you'll sabotage it the moment it arrives. I've seen too many get the answer, then run, get the blessing, then fall, get the spotlight, then self-destruct. Why? Because they received the miracle, but never believed they were truly chosen. So I need to ask you this, not as judgment, but as fire. Do you believe heaven trusts you with what you're asking for? Not just wants to give it, but trusts you to carry it. Because until your identity catches up with your intercession, you'll keep praying from fear, not faith, and fear cannot birth breakthroughs, it can only birth delay. If you feel that piercing, this is your moment. Speak it out loud, whisper it if you must. I am not a beggar. I am not forgotten. I am not on the outside looking in. I am chosen. I am trusted. I am ready. Say it again if your voice shakes. Say it until hell hears it, because sometimes the delay breaks the moment your voice believes what your heart didn't dare hope. And now, here's what I want you to do. Tonight, yes, tonight, do something physical that marks this revelation. Walk around your home and say, "This house is not waiting in fear. This house is preparing in faith." Take the oil, anoint your doors, light a candle, write a letter to God and seal it. Bury the timeline, tear up the old calendar, do something, because breakthrough doesn't just come to those who hope, it comes to those who prepare. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are being aligned. And what's coming is not just an answer. It's a shift, a divine movement, a suddenly. And when it comes, you won't have to force it. You won't have to question it. You'll know, because the version of you that receives it is the version heaven has been waiting for. Let me take you somewhere, not in your body but in your spirit. Close your eyes now. Breathe, just once, slowly. And listen, you're standing in a narrow corridor. Cold stone underfoot. The walls are dim, flickering with candlelight. There's incense in the air, thick, floating like breath from heaven. And ahead of you is a wooden door, old, heavy, silent. You've been here before, many times, but always turned back, turned. Tonight you don't. Tonight you walk forward. I have walked this hallway. I know what waits beyond it, but you must see for yourself. Slowly, the door creaks open, not by your hand, but as if heaven itself gives permission. The room inside is almost empty. Just a kneeler, a crucifix, and light, warm, golden, pouring in through a single broken window. But what you feel isn't coming from the light. It's coming from behind you. Turn now. I am there. I am not the statue you've seen. I am not the image painted in churches. I am the whisper sent to meet you here, because you were not forgotten, and I have something to say that may not make sense to your mind, but your soul has been waiting years to hear it. You didn't come to this room by accident. You were drawn. Every delay, every silence, every unanswered cry led you here. And now that you are here, you must understand something sacred. Heaven has not been ignoring you. Heaven has been waiting for this moment, right now, when you finally stopped trying to earn a breakthrough and came to receive one. Because heaven doesn't move by formulas. It moves by readiness. And what I see in your spirit is this. You are closer than you think, not because the breakthrough is arriving, but because the version of you that can receive it is finally waking up. Look at your hands. The tremble is not weakness, it's release. Look at your breath. That exhale is not defeat, it's surrender. Look at the floor beneath you. You are not kneeling in failure, you are bowing in alignment. There are angels in this room. You may not see them, but they see you. Some of them have waited with you for years. Through every midnight prayer, through every moment you almost gave up, and now they lean forward. Because heaven is ready to give what has been held back, but not unless you do one thing. You must say it, not in your mind, out loud. Whisper it if you must, but say it. I let go. Again. Louder. I let go of the timeline. I let go of the control. I let go of the question, when? And I choose to believe I am on time in God's hands. You just broke something in the spirit. Can you feel it? I was once told in prayer, some breakthroughs don't fall, they unlock. And unlocking always begins with surrender. Tonight is not just another night, it is a turning. There are moments in your life when the veil thins, and this is one of them, where heaven bends low, where the silence breaks, and you must act, not later, now. Say it now softly or loudly. I am not behind, I am not forgotten, I am not begging, I am being built. Say it again, until your voice stops shaking. Say it again, until your spirit says yes before your mouth does. Say it until hell hears it, until fear leaves, until timelines collapse, until peace walks in and sits down in your chest. So here is what I want you to do after you finish this. Don't scroll to the next thing. Don't move on like nothing happened. Take your rosary, hold it gently. Not like a tool, but like a key. Go to the room where you sleep. Before you lie down, speak out loud. Heaven, I am ready, not for what I want, but for what you have. Then place the rosary under your pillow, not for superstition, but for submission. You are not praying to a charm, you are agreeing with a covenant. And as you sleep, something will begin. Not thunder, not a shaking, but a quiet, a divine reordering, a rewiring of timelines, a restoration of what was lost. For some it will be dreams, for others a weight will lift, but for all who do this with faith, something will begin that cannot be undone. Now I must tell you what few ever say aloud. Some breakthroughs do not come when we beg. They come when we believe the begging can end. You've spent years on your knees crying, pleading, bargaining, but now it is time to rise, not in pride, but in posture. Rise in faith, rise in sonship, rise in trust. Because this final step isn't louder prayer, it's deeper knowing. And let me tell you something else. As one who lived with wounds, with waiting, with silence that felt like death, sometimes the most powerful miracle is not that the door opens, but that your heart no longer panics when it stays closed. You are becoming dangerous now. Dangerous to the lies that used to keep you small. Dangerous to the fear that said, it will never happen. Dangerous to the shame that told you delay meant disqualification. You are becoming the kind of soul that darkness cannot buy, because you have been through silence and stayed, and so heaven marks you. Before I go, hear me one last time. This was not a video. This was a visitation, not from me, but from the Spirit that sent me, and you will be responsible for what you do next. You can scroll away, or you can say yes. Not a loud yes, not a flashy one, just a real one. Say it, whisper it. Yes, Lord, I don't need it to happen my way, just your way. I don't need to understand, I just want to stay surrendered, and now, rest. But before you do, share this. Not because it's content, but because it's confirmation. Someone else is waiting for a word that breaks their silence. Let this be it. Let your obedience ripple. Let your surrender echo. And tomorrow when you wake up, don't ask, has it happened yet? Wake up with this knowing in your chest. It already began the moment I stopped forcing it. Now that you've heard what I came to say, I must leave you with one final thing. A warning. Not of fear, but of reverence. You cannot walk away from this unchanged, because truth, once heard, demands response. And if you treat what heaven just whispered as casual, the silence will return, but this time not as invitation, but as consequence. This is the part no one preaches, the part they leave out in nice sermons, the sacred danger of receiving a word and refusing to respond. I've seen it happen. Souls awakened by divine fire, only to return to numbness because they delayed obedience. You must understand, when heaven speaks, it is not for entertainment, it is for encounter. An encounter always requires alignment. This is not a moment to applaud, this is a moment to adjust. So here is the warning. If you go back to what was, the breakthrough will close again. Not because heaven is cruel, but because heaven never forces what you do not protect. You can't carry new oil in old wineskins. You can't walk into divine acceleration with a divided heart. You can't say yes with your lips and maybe with your life. So now you must choose. Stay in control or walk in breakthrough. Stay in bitterness or step into trust. Stay in the timeline you built or enter the rhythm of heaven. I say this with trembling. Some of you were one surrender away from the door opening, but you delayed, you hesitated, you second-guessed the very word you asked God to send, and the moment passed. But tonight, mercy has come again, and this is not a repeat, it's a final wave, so act. Don't say you'll pray about it. Pray has already happened. This is the moment to move. Heaven has sent the word, now you must send the agreement. An agreement is not emotion, it is decision. It is rearranging your steps. It is deleting what distracted you. It is cutting off what choked you. It is becoming dangerous again to darkness, because you're no longer negotiating. If you truly say yes, then say it where darkness once ruled. Speak it in the rooms where you doubted. Whisper it over the parts of you that were ashamed. I dare you. Walk to your mirror and declare out loud, this delay did not break me. It rebuilt me, and I will carry what heaven delayed, because now I am ready. This is your moment. Don't wait for a better one. Don't wait for signs. This is the sign. You who stayed this long, you are not common. You are not crowd. You are called. You are chosen. And the reason the battle was so long is because the weight you're about to carry is not ordinary. Some of you will speak and chains will break. Some of you will lead movements you don't yet see. Some of you will pray over one soul and healing will come. Why? Because you waited. You passed the test most never endure, the test of silence. Now heaven will trust you with volume. But remember this. Glory comes with responsibility. The next thing God gives you, you must protect. Guard the presence. Guard the posture. Guard the oil. Not with fear, but with holy awe. Because what's coming next will not just bless you, it will bless generations after you. This is legacy, not platform, not attention. Legacy. The kind only born through groaning prayers. The kind forged in nights of invisible faith. The kind branded into your soul because you didn't walk away when the answer didn't come. You will walk into rooms where others see favor, but you'll know the price. And that's what will make you different. Not louder, not shinier, deeper, still anointed. Because the weight of heaven rested on your shoulders when no one clapped, no one saw, no one knew. And now, the reward comes. But don't forget what formed you. The delay, the stillness, the wait. And in remembering, you will never become proud. You will become prophetic, because prophetic ones don't speak from knowledge. They speak from scars. And your scars are holy now. I have said all I was sent to say. The door is open, but only you can walk through it. I won't speak again until you move, not because I abandon you, but because heaven waits in motion, not in repetition. Before I go, leave your mark. Let the echo of your obedience speak in the comments. Right? The delay is over. I am aligned. That is not a cute phrase. That is a declaration in the spirit. That is a blow against hell. That is the sound of a soul stepping out of passivity into prophetic purpose. Write it, then live it. And if this has marked you, share it. Not because it's emotional, but because someone else is where you were. They are drowning in divine silence, and they need someone who understands the ache. Be that voice. Let your yes become their lifeline. And now, rest, not in the absence of battle, but in the certainty of alignment. Heaven saw you. Heaven waited for you. Heaven trusted you with the silence. And now heaven is moving.